Right, well, firstly, welcome back. So, just did a bit of an intro there last week. Got an okay response from it. Happy with that. So, thanks to everyone for watching. Thanks to anyone who shared it. Thanks to anyone who commented and told me different ideas and ways around it. Firstly, mainly, I'd like to thank my uncle Derek, who invited me into his job there on Facebook, and we had a brief chat about what way we think the podcast could go. And so, I'm just here to tell you that I do think it will take a bit of a community approach, in a sense that I will talk about a lot of stuff that would happen in Killinarden or that would affect Killinarden or people living there and stuff like that, and also maybe broadening that to the wider Tallaght area. I'm gonna do at the start of this podcast, I'm gonna do a lot of different topics. It's not gonna be your Peter Crouch podcast, so it's not gonna be something like that. At the start, it will take on a different role, because I am trying to gain a bit of an audience, and hopefully people do enjoy watching this. So let's get into this topic here now. So let me just. So basically, I've been sent this topic. I've been sent a couple of topics, different topics, but this one is a bit of a tough one to talk about. So firstly, I just want to say to anyone that does suffer with or has friends or family or anybody suffering with any mental health issues, it's hard to get help. It's hard to decide, I'm going to wake up tomorrow and get help. It's very hard, especially living in the country that we live in, where we have the likes of Leo Varadkar in charge, and this is a bit of a political view of my own. So with Leo Varadkar in charge, he's the type of person who he grew up with completely differently to us, so we think differently to him, from being from Tallaght or Killinarden or anywhere like that. The way we think is like we can't just go to our mums and dads and say, oh look, lend us the deposit for a house, give us the deposit for a house, rather, like what Leo did say before. And the reason for that being is that we're from working class areas, and these areas we're raised differently, and that's why you'll see a lot of people now talking about voting Sinn Féin and voting for these people who actually have a view of what the workers think and how workers should run the country, basically, compared to someone who grew up that way. And that's no reflection on Leo, because he grew up that way, it's not. But you need someone who can see both sides of the fence there. Like, it's a tough one. So, like, on Leo's side of the fence, he has a better upbringing, or rather, maybe not a better upbringing, because we have a sense of community around here. Maybe he doesn't see that, he doesn't have that. And people like that, it is tough for them to see the smaller man, because they're not raised that way. And maybe coming from an area where we come from, it is harder for one of us to get in government, say for example, because we don't have the education that he would have, because we don't have the opportunities rather that he would have, because money and power bring opportunities, and that is the way it is. Whereas we would have to work 12 and 13 times as hard as someone like that to get to a position where he was. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't do that, because everyone should work hard. You should better yourself all the time. I know I said in the last podcast this isn't going to change your life, but this seems like a very motivated speech here. But yeah, like that, we'll get into the topics now that was sent. So firstly, what I'd like talk about life for young people in Tallaght and in Killinarden and in these sort of suburban areas, and the poorer areas, if you may. In these areas, you grow up with, you're out playing football on the road and stuff like that, and then there was a sense of community when I was growing up, I know, and previous, like my uncles, my cousins, different generations, like my granddad and my nan and stuff like that. And there's a lot of people who live around these areas that would have seen all that, the good times and the bad, but they would have seen all through together. And that's what where the sense of community would come in when I talk about Killinarden and when I talk about Tallaght. And it does bring a sense of pride when you can think about that we sort of dealt better with the hands. We dealt with the hands that we were given, a lot of the ways. And there is antisocial behaviour and there is crime, but there's a lot of fucking good in the communities and in all these areas, like, so let's get into it here. So with this topic, as I said, mental health is a big thing in these areas, and it's a big thing all over the country. Like it's a tough thing to talk about from a personal perspective, but in this country it's sometimes hard to get help and stuff like that. So let's just I'm reading an article from the Irish Times here, and it's from November 22nd 2018, so it's a bit outdated now, but we'll go through it quickly. So at the time there, Ireland had one of the highest rates of mental health illness in Europe, and it was costing the Irish economy 8.2 billion a year at that time. So over, like, if you look at it overall, like all the counties, like there was 36 countries in this particular survey, and if you look at that, we're one of the highest in the world for such a small country. It's hard to think of what the reasons are, because sometimes you don't know, because in your mind it's a completely crazy place, and there can be no reason behind it. Could it be money? Could it be the weather? That's what a lot of people will say. It's the weather. Like if you look at places like Cork and Donegal, they'd have higher rates of suicide, and a lot of that when people say it is down to the doomy and gloomy weather, because there's nothing worse than waking up on a Monday morning, and having to go to work and it's pissing outside. Like, do you know what I mean? But it is Ireland at the same time. So yeah, and with the topic that we're going to discuss now, firstly, I just want to say just. So firstly, it is a tough one because I've heard a lot of people have their opinion on this particular subject. It is something that has rocked the whole country really, and it's happened in the past week or so, maybe a bit longer. So I'm sure you're all well aware now. This is not basing my podcast on what happened in the events, just to outline that from the start. It's just to pick up on something to gain the conversation in my approach about mental health. So basically, first I'd like to say that Connor, Dara and Carla, the three young kids in the McGinley family that were found dead because of many reasons. A lot of people are looking at the man, so firstly rest in peace to them, and you are thinking of the families at the times like this, but a lot of people are looking at it and saying, oh, the man shouldn't have done this and shouldn't have killed these kids and shouldn't have blah blah blah, but you don't know. Like, she went and sought out help. How much does it take for a person to go and seek out help? Because I know myself, it took a lot for me to go and do that. But when I did that, I was told to go on a 3-month waiting list to get some help. That's tough. Whereas this woman went to sort out help and was sent home, basically told she was okay. Like, that's, you'd have to look at the mental health places in this country and say, where are they going wrong? You know what I mean? And then this happens the next day or a couple of days later maybe, and you're like, who's in charge of this shit? Who's in charge of this country? So there's obviously two aspects to the whole thing that happened, and the aspect that I look at it and my approach is the mental health side of it. So with the mental health side of it, like, with psychosis, like, it's a tough thing to understand. So a lot of people don't understand it. So when they're saying, oh, the man done this and the man done that and she's wrong, she did this, you don't know what that means. So you need to educate yourself on these type of things before you can actually speak about it. So from my understanding of it, I know that it's estimated that about 8% of the population in Ireland will have a psychotic event in their whole entire life, or you know, that kind of way. So it's only a small percentage of the population, but it is a large percentage as a whole of the whole country. So basically, it's like you lose touch of reality. It's like you don't know what's going on, so you get these episodes. So in your mind, say for example, there's things that you have morally right and you know what you should do, things that you know that you shouldn't do. So that's the black and white. So in the middle there's this grey area. But what happens when the two angel and the devil on your shoulders, if you like, turn off and they don't do their job anymore? That's where it gets into this state of psychosis. Your brain switches off, you don't know what's going on, and it shuts down those parts. You don't know what's happening in your head. For example, it could be that the devil, you think the devil's coming for you, you just don't know. And that's why I feel like it's wrong to say, oh, F the mom and F her, she should be this and she should be that and they should do this with her, when you don't know. When someone's mind snaps, you don't know what's happened. Like, the mind can be a scary place, it can be like a prison at times. I'm sure most of you is watching this will know, like, it can be like a prison. What's worse than sitting there with your own thoughts or trapped in your own mind? But think about that. Sometimes it's easy to switch off. You'll go and watch a program, you'll go for a walk, you'll try these things, you'll go to the gym, you'll do all these things. But what about the people who are in these psychotic disorders or these psychotic episodes, if you will? They can't just snap out by going for a walk. They don't know what's going on in their head. It can be so scary, like, for them. I've never had to deal with something like that myself, personally, like, from a personal perspective, where I've dealt with one of those episodes. But I've seen it happen, and it's a scary time. So we're looking at statistics in the country. So they say about 8% of the population would deal with this, but they say only 3.5% of the population experience an actual psychotic disorder. So like that woman who had psychosis, or other women. I've seen stories of it in America, I've seen stories of it in England, and yeah, it's a horrible story to hear, but it's horrible for people to jump on the bandwagon and say this and that. I mean, that's okay, you're a mother, you have kids, and you're reading this, how could she do that? Who in her right mind would do that? That's the point. She was not in her right mind. Do you know what I mean? She was not in her right state of mind the way you and I are in the right state of mind. You know what I mean? Well, for the most part. But yeah, it's a tough one to talk about, and mental health in Ireland is a serious thing. But as I said, we'll go back to my own part. For myself, when I went to look for help, like, and they told me to be on a 3-month waiting list, like, who can wait 3 months? Who would have known if I was to wake up the next morning and say, oh, do you know what? I can't do it anymore. Like, no, thank God I didn't, and had my family and friends support me and everything like that. But who, like, exactly, like, someone could say, right, you're on a 3-month waiting list, and the next day you're gone. Do you know what I mean? It's a tough one. The mind is the scariest place of all times.